Meteorologist Dave Brown with the weather. And all the sports with Rich Miller. The 10 o'clock news.
The American flag went up in flames tonight, and thousands of gay rights activists from all over the state protested to veto the so-called gay rights bill. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Crandell.
I'm Lorraine. Woodward. Demonstrators carried placards and shouted, "Gay rights now or civil war." They were loud and not always peaceful as they marched on the Capitol. Once again, the issue is a gay rights bill vetoed by the governor. It would have protected homosexuals against job discrimination. Zenobia Gerald begins our coverage.
Some of the demonstrators set fire to the flag. Thousands of others marched through the streets, declaring their anger over the governor's veto of a gay rights bill.
We don't want to sit on the back of the bus anymore.
Tonight's march capped a day of protest on Sacramento streets and at the Capitol.
We're not a violent people, but we can't get angry. It's about our children and our students. That's what it's about. I grew up living in the closet in the 50s, and I'll be goddamn if I'm going to live in the closet again.
If you don't march, you're not seen. If you're not seen, nobody knows what you want.
Not only were there angry words directed at the governor, but gay rights activists also criticized some of their own.
I hate it when these pacifists sit at home and do nothing.
A few even fought among themselves.
That just highlights the diversity in the crowd. I mean, there are people that think that that's the way to it. There are, I think, the majority of people here that believe that that's not the way to create change here.
Protesters say they'll be back.
In the words of the queer poet Allen Ginsberg, we're saying to America, America, I'm putting my queer shoulder to the wheel.
Zenobia, Gerald for the 10 o'clock news.
I'm Terry Cox. Today's event brought out the largest assembly of peace officers in the history of Sacramento. Nearly 500 officers from 4 different agencies. They were put to use at the first signs of violence, which occurred at 10:25 this morning. 300 demonstrators took to the intersection of 10th and L Street and began pounding on cars, inching through the crowd.
That doesn't give you the right to do what you're doing. Self-defense. From back here.
It took city and state police nearly 20 minutes to escort the first vehicles through.
I want them to block those streets. Excuse us for a second, would you please? Thank you.
Watch me.
The tension was high, but officers had been trained to keep their cool. The teasing continued as the crowd grew to 3,000 and transcended to the west steps of the Capitol. Officers were rotated from the front line frequently, exhausted from the energy exerted and overheated from bulletproof vests and riot gear. Only once were officers seen striking out at protesters.
You can't say you're ever used to it, but you know what's going to happen. And part of our job, the staff job, is to go through and talk to people, make sure they're okay, it's not getting to them. But yeah, you kind of expect it.
The job became even more intense when the demonstrators crowded on the east side of the Capitol and began vandalizing the building with markers, stickers, eggs, and paint. The arrests were few.
3 people have been arrested, 2 males, 1 female. They've all been charged with interfering with an officer, which normally is a misdemeanor, and depending on how cooperative they are at the booking station, they'll probably be cited and released later.
Officers were telling me they heard people yell things like, "They're getting one of ours, let's get one of theirs." And it was threatening to the officers that they're going to try and pull an officer into the crowd and beat him up, basically. It's the concern of the officers at that point. And it really heightens the fear at that point.
They're starting to throw stuff at us while we're out there. You know, there's bottles been thrown. There's unknown substance. We don't know whether it's blood on our shirts, AIDS infected, or just cranberry juice.
And now the night demonstration, and with it a whole new set of concerns for peace officers here. You see, demonstrators are now under the cover of darkness, which means if they choose to, they can be more aggressive and have a better chance of getting away with it. In addition to that, most of the peace officers here have already put in an 8 or 9 hour day. But the number of demonstrators here tonight is about half that of this afternoon, and most crowded down Capitol Mall and shut down the Tower Bridge and obstructed traffic throughout the downtown area. Only a small group stayed at the Capitol and rattled gates that stood between them and the officers who stood 2 and 3 deep. By 9 o'clock, most of the activity here at the Capitol was over, and the cost to the State Police Department alone for just a day is expected to total into the tens of thousands of dollars. For the 10 o'clock news, I'm Terry Cox.
For the second time in a week, a black resident of Sacramento has had their house set on fire. This time, Sharon Woods Taylor's home was the target in South Sacramento. The blaze destroyed a gate and part of the garage. This comes after someone painted "No Blacks" on the porch.
There was somebody pounding on my door. I just could hear it, and I got up, I ran to the door. There's this lady out standing out going nuts, going, "Get out of your house was on fire." I thought she was lying. I thought, who is this trying to get me out of my house in the middle of the morning? What's happening?
Woods Taylor, as well as neighbors, are shocked by that fire. Investigators say it was deliberately set. Now, damage is estimated at $3,000. Woods Taylor was renting the home.
There was word today from the district attorney's office that there will be a second trial to determine the punishment for convicted killer Morris Solomon. One trial has already convicted Solomon of killing 6 people here in Sacramento back in 1986 and 87. But the same jurors who found him guilty could not decide whether to send him to the gas chamber or to prison for life. The jury was deadlocked, and the judge declared a mistrial. Today, Sacramento District Attorney Stephen White announced he has requested another jury be impaneled to decide Solomon's fate. It could be a lengthy trial, with the attorneys going over all of the evidence.